Welcome, everyone, to theScore Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Boone, the lead fantasy analyst at theScore, and today's episode is presented by Head & Shoulders. Offense for great hair, defense against flakes.
Offense for great hair.
Defense against flakes.
Head.
Shoulders.
Now, there are a lot of reasons to be excited for today's show, but the biggest one by far is that it is week 14, the first week of the fantasy playoffs. You've done all the work to get yourself here. Now we're going to get you prepared for this game, help you advance. And I say we because I'm actually joined by a man today who rushed out and picked up Eli Manning off the waiver wire in our Dynasty League. I guess he's pretty excited about Eli potentially starting on Monday night. It's Andrew Erickson, the head writer over at Gridiron Experts. You can find him on Twitter at Andrew Erickson _. Do not forget that _. Andrew, appreciate you joining me today, man. How you doing?
Yeah, I was glad to be here. I thought I could slide under the radar a little bit with that Eli Manning pickup. I saw the news coming. I was like, oh, man, because Daniel Jones has been, kind of my guy as my second, because it's a super flex league for those that, obviously don't know about the Fantasy Pros Invitational. But yeah, no, Eli Manning against the Eagles. I'm going to be probably rolling him out Monday night. So that'll be, that should be fun to watch.
Well, I mean, congratulations just on making the playoffs in that league, because it's a tough league. There are a lot of heavy hitters. It's a 12-team Dynasty League, like you said, super flex. It's very, very deep rosters, and we're going up against Mike Tagliere and Sean Kerner and Pat Fitzmaurice and Elliot Chris, who Elliot, I love. Elliot took over his team this year, and he's in the middle of like the biggest rebuild I've ever seen in a Dynasty League. He has like 5 first-round rookie picks next year. I think we talked to him about it when he was on the podcast like a month or so ago, but it's a very tough league to make the playoffs in, so congrats on your first season here making it.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely excited, and I'm just hoping that I don't have to face Bobby. Hopefully he just has a bad week because his team is an absolute juggernaut. Like, every other team scoring, 180 points, and he's, like, over there putting up, like, 300 points. It's like, all right, hats off to you, Bobby.
That's Bobby Sylvester of Fantasy Pros. Yeah, it seemed like, I don't even think anyone expected this to happen. It was just like every guy on his team broke out this season. I think he was even a little bit surprised. And yeah, he just dominated. I was lucky enough to get the second bye behind him. So if you don't play him and you win, that means you're going to have to play me next week. So I don't know if I'm looking forward to that.
Well, I mean, it's going to be Eli, possibly another start. So, hey, we'll see what happens.
That's true. Well, to start off today, I want to look at a specific offense versus defense matchup. And I want to look at Lamar Jackson and the Ravens offense against that Bills defense. Now, last week, it seemed like everything was set up against Lamar. He was going up against the 49ers, who we know are one of the better defenses in the league. The weather was a concern, and he even admitted after the game that the weather was a problem. So he goes out, he throws for 105 yards. That's his lowest passing total of the season, but he makes up for it with 101 rushing yards, had a rushing score, had a passing touchdown. So he ends up having a decent day. And he's had over 20 fantasy points in every game but one this season. And even in that game, it was against the Steelers way back in week 5. Even in that game, his numbers weren't that bad. It was just he had 3 interceptions, and that really docked him. That really took him down that day. So now he's going to go up against the Bills. And I'm a Bills fan, I will say. So we need you here to give an unbiased opinion on this one. But he's going up against the Bills. The Bills have allowed the 4th fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks this season. And the game is in Buffalo, so that helps them as well. Are the Bills the team that can finally solve Lamar Jackson here? Or at this point, can anyone really stop Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, it's gonna be a hard pass for me on stopping Lamar Jackson. I actually think that the fact that it's in Buffalo is actually a good thing, I think, for both quarterbacks, because I think it makes the game more likely to be competitive. A lot of these games with Lamar Jackson you've seen have basically been like blowouts, and he doesn't even play like the fourth quarter in half the games it seems like he's played. Robert Griffin III, it seems like he's getting, I look up at the TV on Red Zone, hey, RG3's in again? Like, what? So we're seeing a lot of blowouts from the Ravens, but I think this game is going to be more competitive, so I do think that there's a chance that it could be more back and forth, which I like for Lamar Jackson's ceiling as a fantasy starter. And I will say the other thing is the Bills, strength on defense is definitely in their secondary. It's their, the Tre'Davious White, a lockdown corner who can, take a guy like Marquise Brown. But the way that the Ravens run on offense is they're using multiple tight ends. They're running the ball a lot, and the Bills seem like much more of a run funnel defense. Teams are running the ball a little bit more effectively against them than really throwing the ball. And obviously the Ravens, run through Lamar Jackson, as weird as it sounds. So as of this point, I'm not going to bet against Lamar. I just think it seems like a not great move or not great investment until we see it actually happen. So I'm just going to project that Lamar keeps things rolling.
And you're almost seeing the same thing on the other side with Josh Allen, because the Bills' schedule has gotten a lot tougher recently as well. And yet he keeps producing it. These rushing quarterbacks, right? You almost have to have one on your team.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it kind of reminds me of the fact when, these running backs started becoming like receivers. It's like you're playing like
point.
two positions at once. And that's why there's so much value. You have so many different outs in ways that they can produce, especially with the fact that, rushing yards, just as a quarterback, you get more points. 10 rushing yards is a point versus 25 passing yards. So you literally only need to get 40 rushing yards to get a touchdown, essentially.
It's true. Well, that is all for the video version of today's podcast. Big thanks to everybody for watching it. We're going to see you back here next week after you win in the first round of the playoffs. So good luck.
Said leave on time, my baby said leave on time.